You know what I'm gonna do about it? You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna tweet my displeasure. That's right. I'm gonna jump on social media and I'm gonna tweet about it until my fingers bleed. I might even send an Instagram or a Vine. That's right. And on that tweet, in that tweet, and however many characters I get, I am gonna threaten. That's right. If I don't get what I want, I'm gonna riot. And if that doesn't work, then by God, me and my friend Mark, we're gonna stop watching. That's right.
A lot of our guys, unfortunately, listen to the people on the internet who, the so-called, the so-called experts who've never laced up a pair of boots.
Good or bad, the internet?
The ones that call themselves experts and, and have all these, the cures for the ailments of our business. You know what? I think they're a big joke. And the people that buy into this, they're only smart because of what we let them be smart too. But you listen to them, and they've got all the answers, and this guy needs to be put.
Good. Where's the smart marks at?
They're talk to him.
Good. Can I?
Yeah, I would love you to.
Can I really?
You know how I feel.
Can I swear?
Absolutely. Ask your friends over here.
All right, fuck you. And this is my biggest problem with the so-called fans and stuff like that. Like they have these words in their lexicon that they read on the internet from someone else, like Meltzer or something like that, and they use them out of context. They have no idea what it means. You know what I mean? And I actually I said this to one of our writers one time. They said something like, "Oh, and then you're going to do this, and then you're going to get heat." And I said, "Stop. No.
That's not how it."
I said, "You don't even know what that word means. You have no idea what that word means." And these people run around and they're like, "Oh, he doesn't need to do this," and Paul Bear is, it's disrespectful and it's just cheap heat, and it's not. You don't know what heat is. You don't know what cheap heat is. Shut the fuck up and watch the show.
Well said.
Thank you.
You could take any one of those people and you can give them the position of booker and they would lose their mind. Everyone loves being negative. Everyone loves, they shouldn't have done that. Punk came back too soon. They did it. And it's just like, shut up and enjoy it. I know sometimes it gets really, really bad. And then you can be vocal about that, but it's just like nobody lets anything play out. They forget. It's like they almost forget that there's going to be a Raw next week.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 66 of the Josh Lopez Wrestling Podcast, right here on meaningless.com. You can always check out the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Audio Boom, YouTube, and wherever you get your podcast platforms from. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm the student game of professional wrestling. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at NotoriousJoshi. You can check out the Josh Lopez Wrestling Podcast every single Thursday, like I mentioned before, on mindandcarnage.com. Shout out to Cade, and shout out to everybody from the MLC family, especially Adam and Sam Daley from Wrestling With. Hope you guys enjoying your week. This week's been flying by really, really fast. I don't know what it is, but this week has been flying by really quick, man. I felt like Raw was yesterday. A lot of shows go by, but that, time goes by fast when you're having fun, right? And I have a fun time doing this podcast, and I've been very grateful for the support I've been getting back for the podcast over the past couple of weeks. I want to give a shout out to everybody that's reached out to me about the new Yacht Club Audio Moment of the Week. Speaking of the Yacht Club Audio Moment of the Week, I think this week may be the best one so far. I have the most amount of Yacht Club moment clips I've done so far in this podcast. You're going to get a good laugh out of that. Today, I'm not really going to rant about anything because I don't have anything to rant about. We're literally a week and a half away from SummerSlam, and I'm pumped. I'm very, very pumped for SummerSlam this year. I think the card is shaping up very well for both shows. I enjoyed Raw for the most part this past Monday, and I thought SmackDown was decent. We're coming up at the finals of the G1 Climax this weekend. I'll be covering that for my transcription site, which you can check out at prowrestlingresults.wordpress.com. And I wanted to spend the first part of the podcast, which is my monologue, obviously, to talk about the G1 and how it's affected me as a wrestling fan, and give you a little bit of my prediction and preview of the G1 Climax for New Japan Pro Wrestling. But first, I wanted to mention something that's very important, and it's kind of piggyback off the monologue I started last week about where it's too many wrestling podcasts. This time, I'm not going to say that there's too many wrestling podcasts this week, but I want to change the topic to conflict in wrestling podcasting. Before we go knee deep into the G1 coverage and all that fun stuff, I want to get this off my chest because it's important. It's something to be positive about. It's something to think about. That's my goal here when I do these podcasts. I'm here to make you laugh. I'm here to entertain you. I'm here to make you think. And I'm here to make you feel better about yourself and enjoy the wrestling business as a whole. That's it. It's very simple. I'm not here to claim that I'm better than you or anything like that. That's not the case. That'll never be the case. But I want to express my honest opinions with you, and I think you guys appreciate that. So, last week I talked about being too many wrestling podcasts, and there's an overconsumption of certain style of wrestling podcasts. This week I want to talk about how the podcasting game is kind of affecting friendships and relationships through podcasting. There's positives and there's negatives to this game. And as a guy who does this for a living, I deal with those struggles every day of my life. This is my life's work. You'll listen to a lot of podcasts that this fan base, and they'll take questions and stuff. That's a hobby to them. This is my life. This is my life's work. I'm a professional broadcaster. I'm trained to do this. I went to school for this. This is my life. This is the path I decided to go down. And like I mentioned last week, I have no regrets becoming a broadcaster. If anything, this decision has helped me become a better person and helped me regain my self-confidence. Because if you guys met me like 4 or 5 years ago, nothing in the world would convince me to be happy about anything. I was very, very negative, and I was in a very, very dark place back in 2012. So, I come on here and I talk about positivity. Let's bring each other up and all the positive stuff. And I try to look at the wrestling business from a positive point of view. Not only from a positive point of view, but also looking at it from a big picture standpoint. But at the same time, when I was back in 2012, I was that bitter wrestling fan where, why are they not doing this? And CM Punk should be doing this and yada yada. And I had to look at myself in the mirror. I was like, what am I doing? Why am I watching just to make myself stressed? You know what I mean? We already got enough factors in life that comes out of our way, and we have no control over these certain obstacles that come into our life, and we get stressed about it, and we get stressed about the political world that we live in, we get stressed about family members not doing the right thing or whatever, and we get stressed out by the most meaningless stuff in the world too, man. Like, I'll hear people call into sports talk radio shows and to scream on their top of their lungs about how they could run a sports team better than the people that do it for a living. And I'm like, you really have to take a moment and look at yourself in the mirror and ask, what are you doing? What is your purpose? What you're getting out of the necessity of being angry and upset 24/7, 365. Now, I'm not going to tell you to be like, oh, everything's happy-go-lucky, because I understand life's not perfect. There's stuff that I deal with every day. I don't choose to broadcast it or make it public because it's not going to serve me it's not going to do me anything. I'm not looking for sympathy from anybody. I deal with my own issues on my own terms. I have stuff that I deal with. I'm human, just like you guys. You know, I really, it's a struggle for me because I was negative 5 years ago, and I feel like I have a second chance to change my reputation, change who I am in ways, but for the better. And it was just that year 2012, there was a lot of personal things that were going on in my life during that year. It made me become a sour person, and it's something I never wanted to be in my life. And I'm glad that I got my you-know-what together. I'm glad that I moved on from those issues, and I'm in a better place now. And unfortunately now in podcasting and in this world of social media, you can respond to somebody, to a question or a comment they have, and they'll take it as you're ripping them. I can't depict how people feel on social media. I can't. I'm not going to waste my time doing it because it's really a waste of time. I have my opinions. You ask my opinion, I'll give it to you. When it comes to social media, I'm not afraid to let my voice be heard because obviously that's the platform to use it, right? But I'm doing it for a reason. I'm doing it to, like I mentioned earlier, to have people think. I'm not here to conform to the status quo of every wrestling podcaster out there that's gonna bash the booking and go on these long soliloquies about how they're smarter than Vince McMahon and Vince McMahon should retire. That's not my deal. And unfortunately, now a lot of these days, if you don't agree with that type of crowd and that type of community, you're outcast. You're shuttered away. Nobody takes you seriously, I guess. They'll take jabs at you and stuff. Like, I talked about this a couple months ago, and when I left Between the Ropes, I found out everything I needed to know about the dirt sheet world when I left Between the Ropes. You know, those guys will talk about how they're not like everybody else and yada yada yada. But if you really listen to their podcasts, it's Meltzer this, Meltzer that, Meltzer this, Meltzer that. And unfortunately, guys that I was actually looking up to at the time, and guys I thought that would help me grow as a writer and as a broadcaster, kind of tossed me to the side because I wasn't praising Meltzer every single week or wasn't talking about what Mike Johnson reported or all that. Like, with all due respect, Brian and Michael, and you guys have been doing this longer than me, and all respect is well deserved. I'm sorry that I didn't follow the same lines that you guys did. I did my work. I covered over 15 hours of wrestling for your site. I was doing the most amount of articles on that site besides Brian doing the articles. But the world of the wrestling media is so petty that if you... This is real life. This happens, folks. I'm not making this stuff up. You don't agree with somebody's wrestling opinion, or if you're not in the same crowd or don't have the same friends certain people in the wrestling media have, they'll go out of your way to make you feel like crap. I was never allowed to use Between the Ropes as a reference to get any WWE interviews. Why is that? I got a show in Chicago that was doing good numbers. An actual radio show. I had the first wrestling radio show in Chicago since the Monday Night Wars, and it was doing very well. And I had to go get guests from other companies and all this other stuff, but because I wasn't best friends with Meltzer and Alvarez and then running the same crowds as Brian Fritz and Michael Wiseman, I wasn't allowed to use them as a reference when I wanted to get WWE interviews. And also, at the same time, they're so petty, they wouldn't allow me to use them as a reference to do live coverage on their site at WrestleMania. So I don't know how a guy in his mid-40s gets turned off by a 20-year-old at the time getting approved to do media credentials and get to cover WrestleMania at the age of 20. A guy who's been doing this for over 20 years gets so uncomfortable and uneasy about a 20-year-old that never stirred the pot, never started any problems. It gets turned off, and can you cover WrestleMania from your hotel even though you have to pay out to go to San Francisco by yourself? Yeah. I found out everything I needed to know about the wrestling media that in that experience with Between the Ropes. The whole stuff with WrestleZone, that stuff speaks for itself. All the stuff about podcasting and writing, they all correlate with each other, guys. If you don't agree with certain people's philosophies in the world of wrestling, they'll treat you like crap. It's just that simple. And if you call out people on their bullshit, they'll get butthurt about it. Hey man, I got nothing to hide for anybody. You can agree or disagree in my opinions. That's perfectly fine. I don't care. You're not going to affect the way I conduct my business, though. I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing for the right reasons. And even though whatever happened back in February with Adam in that situation with the pipe bomb, that's something I truly regret. And that's probably the main mistake I've made since all this other stuff that's happened between the Ropes and WrestleZone and all that. All that stuff doesn't matter. What happened back in February affected me personally because me and Adam were like brothers. And if he's listening to this, I'm pretty sure he would feel the same way, or at least I hope so. I messed up. I'll admit, I'll mess up. I shouldn't have done that podcast. I regret it to this day. It's something that bites me in the butt every single day, and I truly, truly regret about it. I haven't talked to him since February, and I just want the opportunity to say, at least on here, if he's going to listen to it or not, to apologize. I can't take back anything I said. What I said was said in the heat of the moment. I was stressed out during that time period. I was about to leave WrestleZone. I was getting really tired of the dumb, stupid politics they were doing on this site. I was dealing with some stuff at home too, and it's all culminated during that time period. And it shouldn't have happened. It's that simple. I'm not looking for sympathy. I was wrong for what happened in the fallout of what happened between me and Adam Daley. No one else. It's my fault. It's not Matt's fault. It's my fault. I shouldn't have done it. It really broke my heart. I was pissed at myself that I fell down the trap that everybody else did. I fell down the same loopholes all these douchebaggery media guys go down to. Because of what? For what reason? Even then, even that weekend after I did that podcast, I felt like crap. I'm like, what was the point of that? What did I get out of doing that podcast? And time has passed. I continue to support Adam and Sam's work. Obviously, they're part of the MOC family, and I love them still to this day, even though I haven't talked to Adam. Was it August? I haven't talked to him in 6 months. No, I haven't talked to him since December. It's been 8 months. Think about that. I haven't talked to Adam since almost a year. Think about that. And how close me and him were. And you guys knew this, for those who were listeners to this podcast back in the day when it first started after last year's WrestleMania. Me and him were close, man. We did a lot of things. And I was getting burned out. He was getting burned out. And the reason I'm talking about this today is because Adam talked about the sudden conflicts that spew into these wrestling podcasts on his podcast, Wrestling With, which you can check out right here on meaningless.com. And it was coming off a podcast that Damien Salting G from The Last Mark Standing did. And he was talking about the meaningless conflict that spews into podcasting during the Big Four season. And that's something I realized too. And I've been doing this for 5 years. I've been part of this wrestling media world for 5 years. And as much as I love doing this, it brings out the ugly in people. It does. I come on here, I want to have fun. You see my passion come out during these podcasts, whether it's this or the pipe bomb. And you guys are not going to agree with me all the time. That's fine. I guess what bothers me about today's wrestling fans is that I can't have a conversation and have a different point of view from you because it doesn't fit your narrative. Look, you don't like Jinder Mahal, fine, but don't go after me because I like the guy. Oh, you see how your boy's doing now. And all these petty side comments like we're in high school and we're like catty girls from the Mean Girls movie. Like, grow up. Grow up. I just don't understand why the conflict always has to spew into these podcasts. I get it. Being part of the media, I understand what comes with this business. I understand the insecurity that comes with this business. I do. I told Adam this when we were doing the podcast back in the day. I want to change this for the better. And I still believe that. I want to change this for the better. But Big said, you can't change anything. You can't change the world unless you change yourself. And I made the mistake and I effed up back in February. So I admit it. I talked about this a couple months ago. About the situation that happened with me and Adam. And you can check out the archives for that episode. I apologize. I still feel like crap about it. Because I haven't talked to my brother, my big brother that I never had, in almost a year. It affects me. It bothers me. It does. But I'm glad that he's doing better. It looks like he's in a better place now. I'm still enjoying what he's doing with him and Sam on Wrestling With. They're doing a great job raising AJ, their daughter, supporting everything she wants to do, and I think that's really cool. Adam's soon about to join, get some opportunities to write and do other podcast stuff, so I think that's cool. And I'm always going to support him. Even when I did that podcast, I said this because I was upset with him doesn't mean I don't care about him. You can be upset with your family members. It happens all the time. You're going to tell me you'd have a best friend for a long time and you never get into any arguments with them? And the point of this is that when I did that podcast back in February, I made a mistake because all the stuff I talked about was petty nonsense. I was upset that I didn't get any... I thought I lost communication for something I was not responsible for. And I took that out on him without even knowing what was truly bothering him. And I told him every time before we recorded the podcast, if there's something bothering you or if you're feeling burnt out, if you don't want to do this, let me know. Let me know. It was that simple. I never wanted to force him to do the podcast. I never wanted to use them just for certain purposes. I had them on the podcast because I enjoyed talking wrestling with him and I enjoyed hanging out with him. That was the point. Not to use them for certain reasons. No. Me and him had good chemistry on the air. You guys knew that. Humbly speaking, even if I wasn't a broadcaster, I would listen to what me and him were doing because that was good shit. And I honestly believed that. But maybe I'm in the wrong. And I was in the wrong back in February. So again, I just want to apologize about that. And this is the last part I'm going to talk about the podcasting game because it brings me down and I don't want to bring you guys down. This is about bringing each other up and having a good time. But I think it was important to talk about this, especially since Adam did that podcast the other day about conflict in the wrestling podcasting game. Stop trying to make conflict where there is no conflict, guys. Enjoy wrestling. This is our escape for a reason. We love doing this. We love talking about wrestling. We should have fun talking about wrestling. Just like Punk and Taker said in the intro of this podcast. We've lost sight of why we are fans in the first place. And if you have people that you consider family, like I consider Adam Daley my family, don't lose that bond. Don't mess up situations like that, because you can lose a brother just like I lost a brother. And it's something I admit I was wrong. See? I can call it spade here. I'm not perfect. I'll never be perfect, but I'm apologizing. I effed up, and that's it. Before we go into this week's Raw and SmackDown, I want to get a little bit into the G1, but first, I'd like to play a clip here from Tama Tonga talking about Kenny Omega and whether his passion really lies in the Bullet Club. After I play this clip from Tama Tonga, we'll get into the G1.
I can give 2 shits about women. My focus is on the club. And if you're gonna leave the club, you gotta act like you're leading the club. Not some by-general leading 2 factions. No, it doesn't work like that. One club, one mind, one heart. Sometimes you gotta check the general, put him in his place to remind him that without soldiers, there is no army, there is no war. Know your role, motherfucker.
Looks like sooner or later, it looks like the Club of Bullets will fade away and classify themselves as obsolete. Obsolete! We're coming up that the final weekend is here, folks. 3 more G1 shows to cover for ProWrestlingResults.wordpress.com. Please support my site. There's no rumors or innuendos on that site. It's just play-by-play pieces. If you like reading wrestling result pieces, if you like what I do from a writing play-by-play standpoint, please support the website. It's ProWrestlingResults.wordpress.com. I've covered every single night of the G1, all the undercard matches, not just the tournament matches. I wanted to take on the challenge, and I tell you this, man, as a guy who wasn't so knee-deep in New Japan before, I tell you, man, I love the company. I don't know if I'll call myself a New Japan mark now, but not that it's a bad thing or anything like that, but New Japan is up there in my wrestling company love out there. I love New Japan just as much as I love Lucha Underground now. It's really been an honor and a privilege to cover the G1 this year, and I was actually thinking about writing an article about how the G1 is changed my perception of New Japan and the style of wrestling they have out there. And I'll talk about it here before I give you my preview for the final 3 nights. I love New Japan. I didn't watch it passionately like everybody else did. I never watched every single G1. I watch it from afar and watch clips here and there as a casual fan. I covered the Wrestle Kingdom events back when GFW produced Wrestle Kingdom 9, and I did 10, I did 11 this year, and I love New Japan. I like the style of wrestling they have. I do. I like what Kevin Kelly does as a commentator. I enjoy his work. I'm not a big Don Callis fan. I'm sorry, I'm not. I've always enjoyed Kevin Kelly and Steve Carino's calls more than Don Callis. I'm just not a Don Callis fan. I liked what JR and Matt Striker did, that New Japan show they covered at Wrestle Kingdom 9. And I thought JR and Josh Barnett were fine for the G1 shows in Long Beach, even though they were getting trashed and really disrespected by the hardcore fans, which I thought was kind of ridiculous. But nonetheless, I like New Japan, and there's a lot of performers I like on there. You can probably see in my Twitter feed at Notorious Joshi about Tomohiro Ishii and how much I like him and how I think Minoru Suzuki is batshit crazy. Speaking about Suzuki, man, if you haven't seen that match with him and Okada from Yokohama from this past Tuesday's show, go out of your way to watch that match. It was very, very hard-hitting. It was a lot of fun to cover. It went to a 30-minute time limit draw. It was the first draw of this year's G1 tournament. Both guys received a point. I don't think Suzuki's going to get in the final. He doesn't have enough points, so I think he's probably going to be eliminated just by default. But Okada and Suzuki, that match was phenomenal. These guys were just slapping each other for like 7 straight minutes, like nothing. And I talked about the matches before that I liked, like Togi Makabe versus Tomohiro Ishii. Those type of matches where it's just forearm city all day long. I like those matches. I think they're fun. They're entertaining. Also, I thought that Michael Elgin has been a big part of my enjoyment for this year's G1 Climax tournament. I'm a big Michael Elgin fan. I've actually had the opportunity to interview Michael Elgin before. With that, I'm actually going to re-air my interview I did with Michael Elgin back from the Pro Wrestling Experience days at the end of this week's podcast. So there's a little gift for you guys. Since we're celebrating the end of the G1, I wanted to play the interview for Michael Elgin, because I really felt like, even though he doesn't have as a lot of points as Okada or Omega have right now, I really felt that not only has Michael Elgin been the breakout performer of this tournament, I think he's been the MVP of this tournament. So I want to give a shout out to Michael Elgin. Big Mike. So let's take a look at the standings here for both blocks before we get into our predictions. Yes. Here we go. Block A. Now we're coming off the August 6th event. That was on Sunday, this past Sunday. Naito and Tanahashi has 12 points. Fale and Ibushi has 10. Goto, Zack Sabre Jr. and Tomohiro Ishii has 8 points. Makabe has 6. Yoshihashi has 4. And Yuji Nagata finally got his first victory in the G1 over Zack Sabre Jr. This past Sunday. Block B coming out the show on Tuesday. Okada has 13, Omega has 12, Evil 10, Minoru Suzuki 9, Sonata and Michael Elgin have 8, Juice Robinson, Tom Tonga, and that obsolete mule Toriano has 6 points, and Satoshi Kojima has 2 points. I don't have the full card for the Sunday event because they only had 3 matches earlier announced when I made this reference sheet back in July. I'm looking at this right now. I made this reference sheet for the tournament July 18th. July 18th! It's crazy. It's August 10th already today. It's ridiculous. Alright, here we go. So, tomorrow, all 3 shows will be at Sumo Hall. We have one on Friday, one on Saturday, and then one on Sunday, obviously. So, let's go down the list of matches that we have set up for this weekend. Guerrillas of Destiny versus Bushi Sonata. So we'll get to see Camacho or Micah or Tonga Loa, whatever you want to call him. Tama Tonga's brother will be at Sumo Hall. The Guerrillas of Destiny will take on Bushi and Sonata from Los Ignobles de Japan. Juice Robinson and Kojima will take on Takahashi and Evil. I think that would be a nice undercard match. Probably get some of the Young Lions and Toriano versus Taichi and Minoru Suzuki. We have a big 10-man tag team match where we have Ricochet is going to be on this show tomorrow, so I'm looking forward to that. Taguchi, Michael Elgin, and War Machine will be taking on Young Bucks, Chase Owens, Hangman Page, and Cody Rhodes. By the way, let me say this. I've been enjoying the work that Chase Owens and David Finlay have been putting on in this year's G1 Climax. They're not in the tournament, but they've been grinding and putting on some really solid matches in these undercards. So I want to give a shout out to Chase Owens and David Finlay. The G1, we have one more undercard match here. It's Jado and Okada versus Takahashi and Kenny Omega. So that's going to be a big one right there. The final 8 block matches is going to be obviously tomorrow. It starts off big with Tanahashi versus Naito, Makabe versus Hashi, Nagata versus Bad Luck Fale, Ibushi versus Hiroki Goto, which I'm looking forward to, and Tomohiro Ishii against Zack Sabre Jr. in the main event. So I think that's going to be a lot of fun. The Saturday show goes as follows. This one looks to be a 10-man tag team match. No, 8-man, actually. Hawari Kwato, Tiger Mask, Jushin Liger, and Kushida is going to be there against Taka Michinoku, El Desperado, Taichi, and Yoshinobu Kanemaru. Yoshihashi, Tomohiro Ishii, and Hiroki Goto of Chaos will take on Chase Owens, Yujiro Takahashi, and Tonga Loa. Fine with that. Nagata and Makabe versus Takashi Iizuka and Zack Sabre Jr. I guess that's another Suzuki Gun member. Here we go. Here's another match I'm looking forward to. Katsuya Kitamura, Ricochet, Taguchi, and War Machine. Kind of similar match to the Friday event against the Young Bucks, Bad Luck Fale, Hangman Page, and Cody Rhodes. David Finlay, Kota Ibushi, and Hiroshi Tanahashi against Takahashi, Bushi, and Naito. That's going to be a fun match right there. The final B-Block matches will be on Saturday. It goes as follows. Kojima versus Evil. I think that'll be a lot of fun. Elgin and Juice Robinson should be fine. Tonga and Sonata. That's going to be another one. Toriano against Minoru Suzuki. And then the rematch from Dominion and Wrestle Kingdom and so many other different events. Kenny Omega and Kazuchika Okada. So there you go. You guys get your another Omega Okada match. This will be the third one in this series, I think. Yeah, it's the third one. So that's gonna be a fun match. And then obviously we'll have the finals of the G1 on Sunday. But we also got 2 title matches. It's gonna be the Young Bucks against Ricochet and Taguchi for the IWGP Junior Tag Team titles, and then it'll be War Machine versus Cody Rhodes and Hangman Page for the Heavyweight Tag Team titles. So lots to look forward to this weekend from Sumo Hall. Kevin Kelly and Don Callis will be on the call on New Japan World. I will cover the G1 live on Sunday. I'm gonna make the trek to cover the show live. I haven't covered any of these G1 shows live. I just haven't had the opportunity. I've been implementing a new gym workout schedule, so I've been really focusing on that the past couple weeks, and that's the reason why I haven't been covering the G1 shows live. But I've made sure to cover each G1 show at least 5 hours after it airs. So probably be a safety tomorrow and Saturday, but I promise I will cover the last G1 show live, and it's going to be a lot of fun. 3 big shows at Sumo Hall. New Japan, big props. You made me a lifelong fan, and I love the product, and I had some wrong misconceptions about New Japan. It's fun. I have a great time covering New Japan, and it's a lot of fun. If you haven't seen any of the G1 shows, please, I beg you, go out of your way to go check out the G1. It's a lot of fun. So, anyways, time to get into some shenanigans and talk about this week's Raw and SmackDown and SummerSlam and all the fun festivities. But first, before we get into Raw, it's time, ladies and gentlemen, it's time for the Yawn Club audio moment of the week. Hope you guys enjoy.
And we got 7 minutes with a commercial break, so about 3.5 minutes total of action. Styles getting a clean win with a Styles Clash. Other than Ziggler leaning over, patiently waiting for Styles to sunset flip him, I thought everything looked crisp and believable, and it was good. But again, kind of not at the level that is going to, make people go, God, I'm really glad I tuned in tonight. That I'm thinking about as I go to bed tonight. I cringe when I hear people say, on a pro wrestling show, you need to have some entertainment too. Or you have to take a break from the wrestling to do some entertainment. The pro wrestling, and Bruce said it, is the entertainment. The wrestlers doing what they do in the ring is entertaining. If it wasn't, we wouldn't be doing the show because nothing called pro wrestling would have lasted a century plus as a popular spectator sport. The wrestling, when it's done right, is entertaining, and it is the primary reason people go to wrestling shows and watch on TV.
Mike Kanellis has got to be dead.
Yeah, he looks really dead. I was really surprised at the TV. Just being linked with Aiden English alone, is bad. And then being the one to take the fall and not Aiden English is bad. And it being just a short match where, for how new he is with the promotion. I don't know what he did. I don't know, it's like he hasn't had time to be bad. You know what I mean? It's like, what happened with him?
I have no idea. But I watched that and it was like, well, this experiment is over. So, if you want to keep your champion strong, let me tell you who shouldn't have been the champion. Jinder Mahal.
Well, they had their reason for him being the champion. And whether it was a good reason or a bad reason, I don't know. If he loses the title right now and it goes to Baron Corbin, then that's also stupid because the only reason for Jinder Mahal to be champion is to cater to India, okay? Which is why he got it.
All right. Enough. Delete. Oh my God, these guys give me a brain aneurysm. All right, folks, that's the Yacht Club audio moment of the week. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Coming up next, we're going to get into this week's Monday Night Raw.
Now, you are prevented from competing at SummerSlam against Alexa Bliss for the Raw Women's Championship.
Yeah, it sucks. I haven't even watched it back. I can't watch the footage because I know it's just going to make me mad. It just makes me angry. In the moment, I knew that something was wrong with my shoulder. I felt it all tense up. It started getting all warm, and I haven't felt that before, so I knew something was wrong. But I told myself, if I don't finish this match, if I don't defeat Nia, nobody is going to take me as a threat heading into SummerSlam, especially Alexa Bliss. And after everything she's put me through this year, I had to prove her wrong. And normally I'm a happy person. It's really hard to be happy right now. I sat on my couch all week and I went through the waves of emotion. I was sad, I was angry, I started getting bitter. But, well, this is gonna sound cheesy, guys, but you guys made me feel a lot better. I saw your tweets. You're the reason I'm gonna move forward, and then I'm gonna put a smile on my face and look forward to coming back.
Well, I know everybody is waiting for you to come back as soon as possible, but as for tonight, the process to determine your replacement begins next in the first of 2 triple threat matches. So tell me, who do you think will face Alexa Bliss at SummerSlam?
Well, I'm going to choose the one that I think deserves it, my friend, the boss, Sasha Banks.
Sasha, first of all, congratulations on the victory tonight in your triple threat match. Now, we now know that the only thing standing between you and an opportunity at that title at SummerSlam is Nia Jax. What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, it's crazy how opportunities work here in WWE. I mean, it wasn't supposed to be me. It wasn't supposed to be Nia. It was supposed to be Bayley, my best friend. And it's funny how things work when I'm not around. Last week, Nia Jax took out my best friend. You have no idea how that makes me feel. You have no idea that me and Bayley share the same dream. I know how much she wanted to be there at SummerSlam. I know how much she wanted to get revenge on Alexa Bliss. Well, guess what? So do I. But not only on her, on Nia Jax. So next Monday, not only am I going to beat Nia Jax, which I've done before, I'm going to make her pay. And come SummerSlam, Alexa Bliss better watch out because there's nowhere to run. And I will become a 4-time Raw Women's Champion.
When my hand goes up, your mouth goes shut, Paul. This is my show. So I run things around here. So let me get this straight. Your client, the reigning, defending, undisputed Universal Champion, Brock Lesnar, is pretty much guaranteed to lose at SummerSlam. It's not a matter of will he lose that title, it's who walks out of SummerSlam with the Universal Championship. Because he doesn't even have to be involved in the finish to lose his title. It's kind of all your fault, isn't it, Paul? But then what happens? I'll tell you what happens because you said it, Mr. Heyman, and I'll paraphrase you. I'll paraphrase you better than you said it yourself. You said that if he loses at SummerSlam in Brooklyn, that you and him will leave WWE. And he's gonna take his ball and go home. Because at SummerSlam, when my hand does this, your mouth will do this, his feet will do this, and I'll do this. Good riddance to bad rubbish. Is there anything you would like to add, Mr. Advocate?
Do you and your lovely wife ever role play? Because I'm all about the role play. So let's have a little role play here. You're Roman Reigns. And you're so intense. You're Samoa Joe. And you, with your beard and all puffed out, you're Braun Strowman. And in this little game of role play, ladies and gentlemen, my client, Brock Lesnar, hereby gives you a preview of SummerSlam.
Oh boy. And here we go! Lesnar takes out the Miz Taraj! German suplex to the Miz, who joins Suplex City! Dallas into the corner! And the beast Brock Lesnar has been unleashed! German to Axel! Bo goes for the ride! And it's time for the F5!
Welcome to the party, pal.
He's not done yet, Buck. F5 to Dallas. And now the Miz. The trifecta for Lesnar. The Miz called Brock Lesnar bad rubbish, but Brock just took out the trash. Lesnar made an emphatic statement, but I assure you, in Brooklyn, when it's actually Samoa Joe, actually Roman Reigns, and actually Braun Strowman, it will not be nearly that easy for the Beast. But Brock Lesnar is laser focused as he defends the Universal Championship in 2 weeks at SummerSlam.
Monday Night Raw this past week from Toronto, Canada. As The Rock said back in the day, think you could go to Toronto, Canada. Hey, hooray! He said Toronto. Hey, that's where we live. We live in Toronto. That promo by The Rock never gets old. Never gets old. Welcome back, everybody, to the podcast. Hope you guys enjoyed it. all audio clips on the Josh Lopez Wrestling Podcast are exclusive to WWE and New Japan, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. This is not my own personal property. We use these clips to enhance our points of view and enhance the presentation, of the Josh Lopez Wrestling Podcast. Really quick, I'm not going to spend a lot of time going knee-deep into these reviews for Raw and SmackDown. You guys get enough of that with these shows. I'm just going to tell you what I liked and see where things are going to go from here for the Raw brand, and then we'll go into SmackDown. Alright, guys? Don't forget, at the end of the podcast, I'll be sharing an old interview I did with Michael Elgin back in the day in the Pro Wrestling Experience. As always, make sure to support all the podcasts from the MLC family, especially Wrestling With. Make sure to subscribe to this podcast on Apple Podcasts, leave a review, and all that fun stuff. But let's get to Monday Night Raw. I haven't done that in a while. Monday Night, I enjoyed it. We had another good time on Universal Chatter, which you check me out on Mondays with the Obsolete Mule Brother Carter. Give him a shout out on Twitter at Derrico06. We always have a good time covering Raw. This show went by really fast for me on Monday. I talk about it each week, but every time I do Universal Chatter, it really makes Raw go by really fast, even with it being 3 hours. A lot of times we're distracted by the questions that were given in our chat room, so the commercial breaks are not seeming as long as it would if I was just watching the show live. But let's say if I was just covering the show live, right? And I was doing the play-by-play article, obviously, yeah, it would feel a little bit longer with just sitting there. If you're just sitting there as a casual fan and you're twiddling your thumbs during the commercial breaks, obviously the show's gonna feel a little bit longer. But like I always tell people, nobody's requiring you to sit to 3 hours of television each week live. Nobody's forcing you. You can still watch Raw towards the end of the show and not have to watch the show literally at 7 o'clock. There's times I started the show at 8 Central Time and I caught up like nothing. It's really not that hard. But overall, I thought Raw was decent. I've seen a lot of hate for Jason Jordan already out of the gate, and I don't think that's cool. We're barely a month into this gimmick, and I have no idea where it's going, and we're taking it 1 week at a time. At least I take wrestling 1 week at a time. Everybody's like, oh, Jason Jordan's getting ruined. Oh, watch out. I think the experiment on Jason Jordan's done. I gave it enough time and this and that. Sure, yeah, it probably was not the best idea to have a independent guy from Canada go out there against Jason Jordan, because you know how Toronto fans are. It probably wasn't the best choice, but hey, man, we rather have Jason Jordan be a jobber or go into this scenario where you're going to start complaining about 50-50 booking. Oh, you're going to beat up a guy that's on the main roster. He gets 50-50 booking. You can't have it both ways, folks. You can't have it both ways. I really enjoyed that Brock Lesnar Biz TV segment. That was a lot of fun. Monday we found out that there's going to be a number one contenders match next week in Boston. How ironic that is, to find out the number one contender for Alexa Bliss's Raw Women's Championship at SummerSlam. Bayley was supposed to get the opportunity, but she has separated shoulders. She's going to be out for a while. It really broke my heart, man. It sucks, man, because I liked Bayley. I was one of the few that was for this match. I wasn't going on a soliloquy like Rosenberg did, bringing to his table like, oh, it's blasphemy. You need to have Sasha and Alexa. Look at the money and this and that. No dig at Rosenberg. I like Rosenberg. He's a cool guy. I just thought that was kind of markish. You know, for people that say that bringing to the table is propaganda fed, I don't know how that's possible. They let a guy literally go on a 5-minute soliloquy about why Alexa and Sasha should be booked instead of Bayley against Alexa. Just throwing that out there. It is what it is. But I wanted to see this match because it was going to be the culmination of their feud. It's the first Raw Women's feud that's happened since the Superstar Shakeup back in April, and now it's not going to happen because of this unfortunate injury. But we got a good triple threat match from Sasha, Emma, and Alicia Fox. I enjoyed that match. It was awesome to see my girl Mickie James on the show. I don't know what they're doing with her, but as long as she's on my TV each week, I'm fine with that. But the weeks of her just only being on main event and not doing much, that's unfortunate because Mickey will always be number one for me out of everybody. Mickey, it's nice to see her on television. Speaking of people I want to see back on television and title shots, is Paige, man. I came on here and talked about the whole Alberto Del Rio nonsense to nauseum. I'm not even thinking about him at this point. I just want to see Paige back on television for her because I think she's far better than Sasha. I think she's better than Bayley. I think she's better than Alexa. And I really think Raw would need Paige to be the forefront of the Raw Women's division. So I'm hoping sooner or later Paige is all healed, rested up, and ready to go because the Raw Women's division needs Paige more than anybody knows. I think Paige is one, if not the best in the world. Is she better than Charlotte? I think they're kind of right there. If I had to pick one right now, I'll go with Charlotte just due to the fact that she's there. There's more durability so far in that scenario. But please, Paige, come back. We need you to come back. I really enjoyed, one of my favorite parts of Raw this week was the in-ring segment with Finn Balor and Bray Wyatt. I thought that was really cool. The match was made official for SummerSlam. It's going to be Finn Balor against Bray Wyatt at SummerSlam. I'm all for this. This is going to be pretty cool. We're going to get to see the Demon all set, ready to go. Guns blazing for that. I thought that was a good segment. And I thought it was one of the better Finn promos that I heard in a while. So I want to give a shout out to Finn. And I really enjoyed that segment. There was some really good matches on Raw, too, this past week. We had Rollins and Sheamus, the rematch from last week. I thought was fine. I actually liked this week's match more than last week's one. Also, we had a pay-per-view quality match from Ambrose and Cesaro. I thought that was very good. The storyline of whether or not Ambrose and Rollins will reunite has been very interesting. It's keeping people on their toes, and that's what you're supposed to do. We're not supposed to know why things are happening for this reason. That's why it's a weekly episodic television show. You gotta wait to get those answers. If you have those answers and still looking for what's next, you're you're overdoing it. You're overcomplicating what's already there. You have to go 1 week at a time. It's that simple. You can't have these answers, and if you're searching for the answers, then why are you looking for what's the next point of the story? It's dumb. Like, why would I want to know what the plot point is for Game of Thrones? I don't watch Game of Thrones, but I'm using this as an example. Why would I go on my way to look for spoilers to find out the next plot point for Game of Thrones? And then when the plot point happens on TV, I'm like, why didn't they tease something for the next week? Well, obviously you're going on your way to figure out what's going to happen down the road for the storyline before it even happens. It's counterintuitive, I guess that's what I'm trying to say. People talk about congruency and the angles and all this other stuff, but when you're going out of your way to find out what Dave Meltzer says and what the finish is for these angles and feuds, you're the purpose of figuring out why these moments are happening is counterintuitive. You're not going out of your way to enjoy the product for what it is. You can't say I want plot points and talk about storylines and things leading up week after week when you're trying to figure out the conclusion of the storyline before the storyline even ends. That's something that's always bothered me. I've come in here and talked about how wins and losses don't matter, and everybody gets on their soapbox about storylines, yet these people are trying to figure out the storyline before the storyline even concludes. That's the point. That's why we have these long pay-per-view feuds. Just because you didn't understand why these guys are fighting the first month they're fighting doesn't mean you'll get more plot points in the second month they're fighting. That's the point. You let these stories play out. Oh my God. I get it. Raw's not Crash TV and Raw's not as must-see as it was during the Attitude Era, but oh my God, man. Put the pipes down. Holy shit. I want to talk about that last man standing match because, once again, Roman Reigns killed it on a main event, but hey, guys, you can't wrestle. You can't work. He's Cena 2.0. He's bringing everybody down. Braun Strowman defeated Roman Reigns in the last man standing match thanks to help from Samoa Joe. We are literally 10 days away from SummerSlam. I'm recording this on a Thursday. We're 10 days away from SummerSlam. I can't wait, man. This 4-way between Brock, Joe, Braun, and Roman is going to be awesome. I honestly feel this has the opportunity to be the match of the year. I really feel that, and I can't wait. I can't wait for this match. And SummerSlam is going to be here before you know it. That's my thoughts on Raw. I thought Raw was good for what it was. It served the purpose it does for the angles. I agree with everybody. I think the whole shark cage thing is kind of stupid. I understand why they're doing it. Business is business at the end of the day. I just thought it was going to be Big Cass and Enzo, but that's not the case. It's going to be Big Cass and Big Show one more time at SummerSlam. Who knows? Maybe the stipulation changes next week, but yeah, I'm not all with the whole shark cage thing. But overall, besides that point, I enjoyed Raw for the most part, and I thought it was a good show. Let's go into this week's SmackDown really quick, and then we'll head out for the week. Here we go.
Great. You're here to gloat. Please, get it out of your system. So, you wanted to be a more charismatic me, a more beautiful me. So you challenge Charlotte to a match? How did that go for you? You saw what happened. I lost. I failed. Well, were you at least more ravishing than me? Please, you made your point. Now go. The point is, Lana, you will never wrestle like me.
You're never going to be as ravishing as me.
Maybe. But it wasn't your in-ring ability that got you 3 back-to-back-to-back title opportunities. Think about it. It was your ambition. And now, you're gonna help me get mine.
Naomi, obviously a disappointing loss to Carmella tonight with some interference from James Ellsworth. You have Natalya at SummerSlam. What's going through your mind right now?
You know what? A good player recognized good game. They got me tonight. Congratulations. Out of sight, out of mind. James Ellsworth has been on suspension, you know? And tonight, they got me. But tonight isn't what matters. What matters is SummerSlam. So no matter if it's Natalya, if it's that sneaky Ellsworth, if Carmella does decide to cash in, no matter what they do on that night, nothing or no one is getting this title off of me.
SummerSlam has certainly been heating up, but nobody has been more on fire than the man that beat John Cena last week, the artist known as Shinsuke Nakamura. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you.
So Shinsuke, you made your debut here in WWE the Tuesday after WrestleMania, immediately made a huge splash, of course, with your entrance. But what was it like for you to debut here on SmackDown Live?
So I've wanted to be in WWE my whole career and compete against the best in the world. First at NXT and now SmackDown.
Well, so far here, you've been competing against superstars like Dolph Ziggler, Baron Corbin, and then last week, you're in the ring with John Cena, the winner going on to face Jinder Mahal for the WWE Championship at SummerSlam.
John Cena for the last decade has been measuring stick in WWE. 16-time champion John Cena is that guy.
A dream match here for the first time ever.
But I beat him.
Nakamura's going to SummerSlam.
I can't describe what it was like to stand in the ring with John Cena, let alone beat John Cena.
Shinsuke, tonight you're going to be observing the match between Randy Orton and Jinder Mahal, but at SummerSlam, you're actually going to be facing Jinder Mahal for the WWE Championship. What does that opportunity mean to you?
More than opportunity. This is my destiny. Last week, I defeated John Cena. Tonight, I watch Maharaja Jinder Mahal. At SummerSlam, I will be WWE champion. And the Nakamura dynasty begins.
Nakamura. 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 Welcome back to the podcast, everybody. Now it's time to talk about SmackDown Live, the A show on the USA Network. Hope you guys enjoyed the podcast so far. Don't forget, as we're heading to the conclusion of this week's podcast, you'll be hearing an exclusive old school interview for Throwback Thursday that I did with Michael Elgin. Don't forget, the conclusion of the G1 Climax is coming up this weekend in Sumo Hall in Japan. I'll be covering the final 3 shows of the G1 Climax on my website, prowrestlingresults.wordpress.com. Now, let's talk about SmackDown. I mentioned earlier about how excited I am for SummerSlam this year, and I'm pulling up the card right now. The thing about this show, the SummerSlam last year was 5 hours, I think. It had to be 5 hours. But I feel like this year it's going to be a little bit shorter, and I'm trying to figure out how they're going to structure out this match card, because there's going to be a 2-hour pre-show, obviously, right? So you have some matches you think will go on the pre-show, some matches that some people that haven't been announced for matches, like Sami Zayn, right? Sami Zayn and Mike Kanellis will probably be on the kickoff show, right? You'll probably have Elias Sampson or whoever on the pre-show. I don't think Finn Balor and Bray Wyatt would be on the pre-show. That wouldn't happen. Or you could have the Club of Bullets and the Hardys in the kickoff show. Who knows? But as far as the main show, we have 11 matches announced so far. So I'll go from bottom to top so far. We got the winner of this the winner of this Sasha Banks and Nia Jax match next week on Raw will go on to face Alexa at SummerSlam. You got John Cena and Baron Corbin. That was announced on last night's, the other night on SmackDown Live, which I thought was a very good segment. John Cena and Baron Corbin, I think that'll be pretty cool. Finn Balor and Bray Wyatt, just talked about that. We have Big Show and Big Cass, the Shark Cage. Randy Orton and Rusev, I'm very excited for this match. I know a lot of people were talking about how Randy Orton defeated Jinder this past week on SmackDown, and was it the right choice or whatever. I can see where they're coming from, where they wanted to start the new angle with Rusev. That's why they had Orton win. You know, he finally gets some portion of revenge on Jinder, but just when you think, oh, all is well and done for Randy, there comes Rusev at the top of the stage at the end of SmackDown. BAM! That kick that he does is awesome. So I'm excited for this Randy Orton Rusev match. It's the first time ever they're doing this live on pay-per-view, and I'm looking forward to it. Neville, Akira Tozawa, Cruiserweight title match. New Day against the Usos for the SmackDown Tag Team titles. This has got to be a no DQ match. New Day and the Usos have to be a no DQ match. AJ, Kevin Owens with Shane McMahon being the special guest referee. This was another part of SmackDown I enjoyed this week. The segment they had with Kevin, AJ, and Shane. People talk about long-term storytelling and all this other stuff. Think about this. AJ and Shane fought at WrestleMania this year. And now Shane is now going to be the integral part of this match as special guest referee. I don't know. I don't know about you guys, but they do tell long-term storytellers. You just got to pay attention to the details more than you actually think you do. Speaking of long-term storytelling, I want to give a shout out to Naomi. She walked out of WrestleMania this year as the SmackDown Women's Champion, and now she's heading into SummerSlam as SmackDown Women's Champion. She's had a long time reign, well deserved. I don't know if she'll lose it at SummerSlam, but her and Natalya is gonna be a lot of fun. And then we got Jinder Nakamura, obviously, for the WWE title, and then the Fatal 4-Way: Brock Lesnar, Roman Reigns, Samoa Joe, and Braun Strowman. So SummerSlam is already packed. I'm pretty sure we'll get Rollins, Ambrose against Sheamus and Cesaro. That's fine. I'm not sure what other matches have yet or need to be announced before the pay-per-view, but I'll say this, man. I am very excited for SummerSlam this year. It's gonna be a lot of fun. I thought SmackDown was decent. The stuff with Breezango, man, it's hilarious. I wish I could play their clips every single week, but I don't want to extend the clips too long. But if you go out your way to watch SmackDown Live each week, please go check out the Breezango segments. They're absolutely hilarious. Also, there's stuff on the show. I really did enjoy the Randy and Jinder match. I thought it was very good. I know people are ragtagging on Jinder because he lost, so that so that means Jinder's a weak champion and yada yada yada, whatever. That's something that's not gonna bother me, and I know I'm gonna hear about it on the pipe bomb, but I don't care because I'm still a Jinder fan. Get over it. Get a life. Oh God, I can't stand Jinder haters. I can't. I'll admit it. I can't stand the Jinder haters because they do it out of spite. Oh, Nakamura's not champ, so we gotta ridicule Jinder because he's the company's choice. Whatever. Like Jinder Mahal never deserved any opportunities. Kiss my ass. Anyways, SmackDown, that was fine. James Ellsworth came back and helped Carmella defeat Naomi. It was fine. We had Sami Zayn and Ty Dillinger against the Usos, which I thought was a nice match. I wouldn't mind seeing Sami Zayn and Ty Dillinger as a tag team. I think they would work well together. Let's see what else was on the show that stood out to me. Nakamura didn't have the match, but I did like that sit-down interview he had with Renee Young. I thought that was fine. And then, yeah, like I mentioned before, I thought the stuff with Shane and AJ and Kevin has been really good. So, SummerSlam is 10 days away. Next week, we'll be making our predictions. Yes. Of SummerSlam. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm hoping next week we could bring in a guest. Right now, I'm planning to do a pre-recorded interview with an old friend of mine, Frank Manzo from Wrestle Reaction. You can follow me on Twitter at FManzo3. I'm looking to do a pre-recorded interview with Frank and talk a little bit about the behind the scenes of his experience of building his Wrestle Reaction brand. Talk about his thoughts on where the podcasting and wrestling media game is as a whole. A little more behind the scenes from that point of view. And then we'll talk a little bit about the product and stuff. I want to do the interview a little bit different because, you know, whenever you have guests like, oh, let's break down every segment of Raw and where's this happening, yada, yada, yada. I want to... This is very important because this guy has been doing this longer than I have, and he's one of the reasons why I started doing shows like this, and I've been... not a fan, but I consider Frank a good friend. I got to meet him in Orlando. He's a really nice guy, and I've had him on my old Pro Wrestling Experience show, so it's going to be a lot of fun to catch up with him next Wednesday. That's when we're going to be recording the thing. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoy it. Next week we'll be making our predictions for SummerSlam. We'll have the interview with Frank here on the podcast. Make sure to support the entire MOC family. Shout out to Cage, shout out to Adam and Sam Daley for Wrestling With. Shout out to everybody that does podcasting. Shout out to Brother Carter, Derek Stout at Derek06, the Director of Operations. Shout out to the Pipe Bomb and McCool Company crew, which I'm a part of. You can check me out on the Pipe Bomb and McCool Company every Saturdays on the NAI Wrestling Network. You can check me out on Universal Chatter with Brother Carter's on Monday. Check out my coverage of the G1 this weekend on ProWrestlingResults.wordpress.com. Check out all my other articles I do for Lucha Underground, NXT, Raw, SmackDown, etc., etc., etc. More importantly, please subscribe to this podcast on Apple Podcasts. Leave a review, screenshot it, send it to your boy. I'll give you a shout out on air. And that's pretty much it. Thank you guys so much for checking out this week's Josh Lopez Wrestling Podcast. For any more information, you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at NotoriousJoshi. Hope you guys enjoyed this week's podcast. I love you guys. Remember, you're the director of your life story. Never let anybody impugn your character or your integrity. Enjoy the finals of the G1 Climax. I'll be back here next week with Frank Manzo. And now you're going to hear an old school interview for Throwback Thursday with Michael Elgin. Thank you guys so much for checking out episode 66 of the Josh Lopez Wrestling Podcast. Talk to y'all next week.
Send me to my grave. send me to my grave. Yes, yes, yes. I got a big mean woman.
It's time I leave. Grab my keys, take the last shot of Jack for a hit.
Welcome, everybody. Hour number 3 of the Pro Wrestling Experience here on ChicagolandSportsRadio.com. We just did a whole hour of interviews for Ring of Honor, and we got one more, saving the best for last. I've been wanting to have this guy on the show for a while. I've been a big fan of his work at AEW and, of course, at Ring of Honor. Former AEW and Ring of Honor World Champion, Michael Elgin. Michael, how you doing today?
I'm doing all right, but it should have been former AEW Ring of Honor and soon-to-be second-time Ring of Honor World Champion, Michael Elgin.
Big Fatal 4-Way match coming up on March 1st. Tell us a little bit about this match. And obviously we got big powerhouses. You got you and Hanson, but we also got a wild card there with Tommaso Ciampa. Tell us a little bit about this Fatal 4-Way match.
It's my chance to regain something that I felt I should have never lost. It's a big match. It's worldwide on pay-per-view, and I think 4 of the best wrestlers in the world today going in one match for one prize, and that prize is the Ring of Honor World title, and I think it's safe to say that's the most coveted championship in wrestling today. So there's a lot on the line, and I have something to prove, I think, more so than anybody, because my goal is to be world champion, and unfortunately that was taken away from me a bit sooner than I had thought, and I think a lot sooner than many people would think. So I'm back there to kind of regain the throne and tell the world that, hey, I'm not going anywhere, and I'm the best there is at what we do.
Obviously, it's odd things that happened last year. I thought the title reign should have went a little bit longer. I think, obviously, you are the uncrowned champion. You never lost it. Tell us a little bit about your goals for this year, and how would you change what happened from last year to this year?
My goals this year is the same as every year. I just want to be remembered for my work inside the ring, and I'm going to give my all every time I step in the ring. I think wrestlers, especially in Ring of Honor, are remembered for a long time to come by their performances and by what they've given to Ring of Honor and by what they've given to Ring of Honor fans. So that's my mindset. We've had our ups and downs, but now I'm focused more so than ever to go in that ring when I perform, have someone, if not everyone, talk about that performance well after it happened.
It's 13th anniversary for Ring of Honor. I know you were a big fan of Ring of Honor before you joined the company. How does it feel to be in the main event of such a big show?
It's huge. Not only is it just the main event of such a big show, but it's my second singles main event in pay-per-view history for the company. So, that says a lot about my hard work, and that says a lot about the company believing in me to be in such a position for the second time now. I really feel that Ring of Honor is giving the talent and giving the wrestling world new platforms to view us and new platforms to see the best wrestling on the planet, and my hat's off to them for that. I'm happy to be back on pay-per-view, and I'm happy to be back in the driver's seat of going after the world title. Usually when you go into a title match, you're looking at the world champion and you're thinking how you're going to beat him. But in my view, Tommaso, Hanson, and Jay have to see how they're going to beat me.
I totally agree. Tell us a little bit about your training school out in St. Louis.
It's been going really well. My first class began last January, and through the thick and thin of it, only 2 students remained when it was graduation time. But I'm very proud of them. They've been doing very well. Danny Adams and Paco Gonzalez, they've been doing shows out in Chicago for AEW. They've done some appearances for Ring of Honor and many other companies around the Midwest, and they're really starting to travel now. So those 2, really show the work ethic and really show my teachings through their work. And the group of guys I have now have been doing really well, and I'm looking forward to see them get out there and get more shows and just kind of sink their teeth into professional wrestling. We have a new class starting April 6th. And as I said, man, it's just been going so well. We had a camp this previous weekend, a Ring of Honor seminar camp, and Delirious himself was very impressed with the guys that I've been training. So not only that, we very much spoke the same sentiments to everybody in the camp. I think we were both on the same page, and everything he had to say I agreed with, and everything I had to say he agreed with. So it just proves that my teaching philosophies have been working. And I guarantee that any and all of my students that come through the doors, I may not be the best wrestler in the world, I may not be the best trainer, but I promise that everything I know and everything I can teach, I'm putting out there to be available to anybody that wants to learn from me.
It's kind of interesting because you're not old, your days in the ring is not over yet, but tell us a little bit about why you started the training, and was there different aspects of the business that you wanted to be a part of instead of just being the wrestler?
Yeah, training's fun for me. Not only is it teaching someone new things, it's also a refresher for you, and I feel that since opening the school, I've become a better performer because it's, 3 times a week reminding myself of everything that I think is valuable in pro wrestling, and that really helps. And just, I was fortunate enough to have a lot of great teachers along the way. I had a lot of people that took the time to speak with me and took the time to pass down their knowledge. And anytime I see a trainer who might not feel that way, a trainer that really doesn't give his all or critiques things in a mean way rather than, oh, maybe you shouldn't have done that, try it this way next time, it kind of angers me. Trainers should be looking out for not only the guys they train, but wrestling as a whole. We need to make sure that wrestling is in good hands for when our careers are up. You mentioned my career is not close to over, and it definitely isn't. I'm 28 years old, and I still have a lot to give and a lot to offer. But for the future, I want guys just to learn the right way, and I want them to know my philosophies, that you have to get out there, you have to travel, you have to train hard, you have to pay your dues, and that's important. The biggest thing to me is that I know, trainers of my past may have went about things the wrong way. Instead of, as I said, kind of lending a helping hand, they're sitting in the back giggling and saying, what is this guy doing in the wrestling ring? He doesn't deserve to be all this. If you feel someone's not up to snuff as a trainer, you should try to guide them into the right way. And when people don't do that, it just kind of irritates me. So I felt that maybe opening up a school, I could, help out people that decide to train with me, and also, just give a lending hand when I'm on the road and I see somebody wrestling and maybe I see something that I could give some advice on.
What we do here in the Pro Wrestling Experience, we like to obviously have guests, and I take more of the opportunity to learn from the guests instead of going off stuff on the internet. I do my study just based off watching stuff on TV. I like to promote the positives in wrestling. I think that's kind of hard to stand out in today's society because there's a lot of shows out there. I just think my brand is to stand out and promote the positives. You don't have to be put in a corner as far as what type of wrestling fan you are. Do you think wrestling's taken for granted today?
That's hard to really answer. Just because right now I feel it's such a huge time for wrestling. Independents are really growing. The fan base is getting larger in those shows. I know shows that I've done for years are progressively getting more and more fans in the doors, and maybe it is at a little bit, taken advantage of, and people just don't realize, the special things they have sometimes in their own backyard. Some people tend to take things for granted, and us as wrestlers take shows for granted. It's just a kind of a cruel cycle of that. Once you really appreciate what you have so close to home, it kind of opens your eyes in a different way. So I think maybe in a sense it is taken for granted, but then on the other side of the coin, I think people really truly realize the talent that's out there now and the talent they're going to see grow at these local shows and, soon perform on such a large level. And I think we're seeing that with, Ring of Honor and NXT and stuff like that. All these guys that you've seen for years are just leaps and bounds ahead of the rest of the pack and really lighting the wrestling world on fire.
Who you say you had the most chemistry with in Ring of Honor? Who brings the best out of you?
I really feel that Ring of Honor has got a great roster, and in saying that, it's hard to have bad chemistry with anybody on the roster. But people that stand out are Kyle O'Reilly, Davey Richards, Eddie Edwards, and Kevin Steen for sure.
I remember the first time I seen you perform was at Day of Defiance 2013. It was you and ACH against Team Ambition. Do you remember that match?
I do very much, yes.
Yeah, that was a pretty cool one. How would you describe your time in AEW, and how would you compare AEW to other independent organizations?
My time in AEW and AEW as a company definitely holds a special place in my heart. In 2012, I had some really good performances in Ring of Honor, and I kind of felt, left out of the picture when it came to the opportunity I was getting in 2012. And I understood that because in 2012, Kevin Steen was back on his return, and he was undoubtedly, the top star in professional wrestling. You had your Davey Richards, your Eddie Edwards, you had Jay Lethal, and all these guys who were cemented in the top spot, and I was just trying to get there. And AEW kind of put their faith in me as a top guy, and I really appreciated that, and allowed me to, get used to being the main attraction of a company and what it takes to be a champion and how you have to present yourself as a champion. So they definitely hold a special place in my heart, and I think, as I said, just about all wrestling promotions now are truly growing, and it shows with them. They're getting huger audiences. They're getting some of the best shows that you can see on an independent level, and they just continue to grow, and I'm really happy for their success.
Which rivalry did you prefer or you had most fun with? The one with Shane or with Silas?
Personally, the one with Silas, and that's just because that was kind of my breaking out period, and that's somebody that I have, a great chemistry with to the point where I wish I could have a longer, feud with him in Ring of Honor just because he's so talented. And I think in many senses, even though fans, get behind him in the way they're supposed to, I think he's underappreciated as an in-ring talent. Truly a great mind, and just someone that right off the bat we had amazing chemistry with. And I really look back at those matches and that time with Silas in the ring as some of my favorites actually in my career.
If people are interested in taking a part of your training school for your next class in April, how can people sign up?
You can hit me up on Facebook or Twitter. Mm-hmm. And the school email is elgintrainingsystems@gmail.com.
Is there any guys on the roster right now for ROH that you haven't wrestled? Or let me mix it up, actually. That or anybody from the independents that you wish were in Ring of Honor right now?
I really truly think that I wrestled everybody on the roster. Maybe Dijak, because he just won the prospect tournament, and I look forward to mixing it up with him. Mm-hmm. Also, I always like picking up guys that are bigger than me, and I think I proved that with Moose recently, that no matter who I'm in there with, I'm going to pick them up. Mm-hmm. But the rest of the roster, I think I've been in the ring with. To be in Ring of Honor, I'd love for Andrew Everett and Trevor Lee to be full-time, Josh Alexander and Ethan Page, Lewis Linden, and Aria Davari for sure.